The unbundling of the National Electricity Power Authority saw the emergence of 18 companies, including 6 generation companies, 11 distribution companies and 1 transmission company. However, the transmission component of the unbundling process was considered the weak point because of its inability to wheel the power generated to homes. On this week's episode of the program, my guest talks about how that narrative has been reversed. Hello there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. Indigents of the Federal Capital Territory want the federal government to intervene in the land dispute, which has allegedly led to loss of lives in some parts of the nation's capital. We have details of that story later in the program. In our interview, we talk about transmission component of the electric power sector reform. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital? The Bring Back Our Girls campaigners marked the 5th year of the abduction of the Chibok girls by renewing their demand for the release of the remaining 112 schoolgirls and the remaining Dapchi schoolgirl in Boko Haram captivity, Leah Sharibu. Aside from the campaigners, the event was attended by families and relatives of the girls from the Kibaku community in Borno State.
Until our citizens understand the necessity to place the responsibility to only always think of the victim when situations arise in this country, we will injure ourselves. The victim is the first focus of the attention of any society that dignifies human life.
The National Population Commission and the United Nations Children's Fund are reviewing Nigeria's birth registration report from 2012 to 2016. The aim of the review is to ascertain the challenges faced in registering babies at birth and suggest ways to resolve them.
In Nigeria, it's 1 out of every 2 children under the age of 5 whose births remain unregistered. Birth registration is a clear priority and part of UNICEF's 4 pillars of child rights: survival, development, protection, and participation.
A federal high court has issued a warrant against the Department of State Services to produce the immediate past National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki. Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf gave the order following a request by the prosecutor, Mr. Oluwaleke Atolagbe, that the court grants an order to enable retired Colonel Dasuki to appear in court to answer charges against him by the federal government. However, the counsel to Colonel Dasuki, Mr. Victor Okudili, expressed surprise that the prosecution is asking about whereabouts of his client when he has been in the custody of the prosecution.
The case was adjourned for trial today. Unfortunately, the first defendant was not present in court. So we asked for a production warrant for the first defendant so that on the next adjourned date, he will be made available before the court for his trial. The first defendant is in the custody of the state. However, this honorable court has held that the first defendant is in the custody of the DSS, as admitted by the first defendant himself in his earlier application before the court. Therefore, the first defendant, the EFCC that is prosecuting the case, cannot be held accountable for the first defendant when he is in the custody of the DSS. That's our position.
The Federal Executive Council has approved a loan facility of $200 million to finance the Nigeria electrification projects. This is part of the approvals given by the Federal Executive Council at its weekly meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Get a facility of $150 million from the African Development Bank and $50 million from the African Grow Together Fund.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has asked all cabinet members to submit comprehensive status reports on policies, programs and projects under their watch by April 24. A presidency statement released by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, said the directive was part of the winding down of the first tenure of the Buhari administration. In spite of the advice of the International Monetary Fund, the federal government is insisting that there are no plans to remove fuel subsidy for now. Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, gave the assurance at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting.
When I was asked, I said we agree with that advice. We need to find how we can exit fuel subsidy. But how do we do that? We do that only when we have enough buffers to cushion the effect of the removal for our people. It is up to the executive, in support with the legislature, to agree what those buffers are. In some countries, they provided buses to transport people. In some countries, they provided subsidies in a manner that is affecting the people that are directly requiring the subsidy. We have not found a way to do that. What we're doing now is the subsidy is everybody that is benefiting, whereas it should be the people that are really vulnerable, that need the help, that can provide, that need the subsidy. So in the executive, with the support of the legislature, we have to find a formula that works for Nigeria. And until we do that, we should not be contemplating removing the subsidy, because indeed when we do, there will be people that will suffer. So we are not yet there. We discuss this periodically under the economics management team.
Staying in the presidency, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the minimum wage bill into law, making it compulsory for all employers to pay workers 30,000 naira. While signing the bill into law, President Buhari expects Nigerian workers and the Nigerian Labour Congress to show more commitment to work, as well as understand the current economic situation facing the country.
I expect them to be more committed to their work, whichever it is, whichever level. I would like them, with the cooperation of Nigerian Labour Congress, to look at the economic situation of the country, the population we have, the poor infrastructure that we are trying to do now in terms of roads, rail, and power. So I wish us, Nigerian workers, the best of luck.
Meanwhile, the Senate has passed the police reform bill, which is expected to revolutionize the operations of the police, increasing its effectiveness and making it more people-friendly. The passage of the bill is coming at a time when the nation is grappling with cases of extrajudicial killings by police officers.
Training of policemen, officers and men. We've made training compulsory at various levels. We have also looked at the welfare of police. This is one of the major problem areas of police. That's why they are always accused of being corrupt. But if your welfare is not being taken care of, the tendency is that you can go any other side to survive. That is why we feel that we have to put a stop to that.
Please. The Code of Conduct Tribunal has convicted the suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, on 6 counts charge of false declaration of asset. The chairman of the tribunal, Mr. Danladi Umar, held that the prosecution has proven beyond reasonable doubt that the suspended Chief Justice breached the Code of Conduct for public officers, and he should therefore vacate office as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
We have heard that the Chief Justice of Nigeria has been convicted and sentenced. The conviction is out of order, it's unconstitutional. It is a breach of fair hearing.
Yes.
Because before this day, on the 23rd of January, the same judgment had been passed before now.
Very well, correct.
Removing the Chief Justice of Nigeria without a fair hearing.
Yes.
And so it was a fait accompli, it was premeditated.
Yes.
Judgment has been passed before today.
Yes.
So today's judgment was just a formality.
Yes.
The judgment has been given, and we are okay with the judgment. That's all I can say now.